What's up, folks? It's that time. Welcome to the stream. And I don't know if you guys are taking your lunch break, but I'm glad you're here joining with me today. This is a very interesting day because we are right now watching the world try to figure out what's happening to American culture politically. But I decided I wanted to zoom the camera lens in a little bit closer and not talk about the political landscape. I want to talk about the social landscape today. And so I you know, woke up and I opened my phone and started scrolling to see what's happened in the world since the last time my eyes were open. And saw some things that just made me say, damn, just more stuff we got to talk about. I had visceral reactions to the things I was seeing on my timeline. And typically when I have those kind of reactions, I spend a lot of time internalizing and trying to figure out, like, why do I feel this way? Should I feel this way? What should I think about this? What should I do? Should I say anything? And then trying to figure out the distance between me and other people. How are they seeing this? So yeah, I decided I was going, rather than have that internal monologue today, I was going to turn that monologue into something like a dialogue. Even if I can't hear your voice, I can at least see your comments, or I can just share my thoughts, and we get to see where we end up as a result. So that being the case, that's what we're going to do today. So I'll give you guys some time to file into the chat and find your seat in the sanctuary. Say what's up in the chat. If you're here, greet somebody in reason's name, because I hope that's what we're doing here is we're reasoning with one another and trying to see how do you reason? Come, Leonidas, let us reason together. To steal a line from one of my favorite movies. But yeah, what's up? Say what's up in the chat. And we're going to get going. I'm going to play a couple of videos today. And what you're going to see today is you're going to get a window into into the dark web of my Twitter feed. I have a Twitter account that I never use. I haven't used it in probably, I think I used it once last year, and then before last year I hadn't used it in years. It's my old Fanatic account. But I still use it to peer in on the world and see what's happening. But you know how it is. Once you watch certain things, it then says, "Oh, that's what you want to see," and then it shows you more of that. So I think I watched one fight one time, and after watching that fight, it said, "Okay, we got you," and it just started showing me the most ratchet. I mean, everything from just pranks that people are pulling on each other that go left, to dealings with police officers that go left, to stuff that's happening in the hood that goes left. And so now when I peer in, I'm just like, if that's the only window I had into the world, I would think the world was a horrible, horrible place. And the world might be a horrible, horrible place, but it's not just that. So anyway, I'm gonna play a couple of videos that are on my feed, and you'll get a chance to see the world through my Twitter eyes. And in case anybody's like, "Yo, why are you still on Twitter? Look at what Musk is doing to the world and all that." Like I said, it's just eye holes in the painting through which I watch the world. That's all it is. So anyway, what's up, Tranview? The truest. Yeah. So some of y'all saw what I was going to be talking about today. I should have sent myself the image so that I could just pull it up. but I'll pull up a different image. I saw this on. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you guys. Yeah. Um, yeah, I saw this on my Facebook page. So, I think it was in Texas where it happened. Correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, high school students, high school student, one attacked the other. Or let me not even say one attacked the other, because even in saying that, there's a narrative. All right. Um, there's a narrative about what actually is going on here. So I won't say one attacked the other, but one high school student stabbed another high school student in the chest. And as a result of that stabbing, the one who was stabbed died. And this being America, you can't have any incidents happening in America that don't, especially if there's a black and a white person involved, you can't have any incidents happening that don't immediately become a race issue for some people. And so we're going to talk about that. Um, but yeah, so you have a black high school student who's a track athlete sitting in under the tent of another school, I guess, and one of the students from under that tent told this student, "You can't sit here." And the one who said, "You can't sit here," is a white kid, 17 years old, football player. And of course, when you read all the news about him, he's an honor student, a football player, this, that, and the third. He's got a twin brother. White kid tells this black kid, "Hey, you can't sit here." And nothing about that "you can't sit here," as far as we know, nothing about that was racist or racial even. It just was, hey, this tent, I guess, is for certain schools or certain students, whatever. There's an eyewitness to the incident that says the black kid's response was something to the effect of, you better not touch me and see what happens. And the black kid immediately opens his backpack, and puts his hand inside. "Touch me and see what happened." We don't know what else is being said, but then the black kid who's sitting down says, "Punch me and see what happens." So you've already got to ask yourself, why does he go from "touch me"? This is a eyewitness who's reporting this. Why does he go from "touch me and see what happens" to "punch me and see what happens"? So right away, you've got to, I think, when I hear that, was there a threat? Was there if you don't move, I'm going to do X, Y, Z? Because why is this kid saying, "Touch me and see what happens"? Punch me and see what happens. But before we knew any of that conversation, and you know what, I feel like I probably should, just for the sake of those who may be unaware. I don't know why you would be unaware at this stage of the game, but you might be. So I'll show the images of, because it's almost like, if you just heard the story, you may not be as invested, whether it be emotionally or socially. You may not think there's much to the story. But when you see the images of the students, depending on who you are in the culture or in the society, you immediately know there's a broader conversation that needs to be had. The question is, what is that conversation? Because you could frame it a number of different ways, and people have framed it. We're going to get into how people are framing it. But I think just seeing the image will help some people say, maybe I understand why people are framing the conversation this way. One of the things you got to know is, when something like this happens with the white kid and the black kid, typically what happens is the media plays a very key role in shaping the narrative, even in how they talk about the students. So just by saying honor student, right? Football player, like, they just by using those descriptions of the student who was killed, who's the white student, but by using those descriptions, you get the idea. Oh, okay, so he's not a high school dropout. He's not someone who's doing nothing with his life. He's being productive. He's making an honor roll and he's playing football. So he's a productive member of society. That's the picture you get. You don't get any typically you don't get any descriptions of the black kid. The only description you get is he's the one who stabbed. And so what image does that conjure up in your mind other than, oh, okay, a violent person, somebody who attacks others? You leave out the fact that he too was an athlete. He too was a student. You don't say anything about that. So already just in the framing and phraseology, you're separating these two students as a victim and attacker, productive member of society, and for all we can tell, some misfit. That's kind of the picture you get. So nothing in what I'm about to say is to say that the student who was stabbed deserved to be stabbed, or that the student who was who had the knife was out there looking for trouble, because all the reports about the situation is, oh, clearly he was there looking for trouble. He had the knife in his bag. Why would he be there with the knife in his bag? He's the one who said, touch me and see what happens. So he seems like he was looking for trouble. You don't do any of the sociological work of trying to figure out what was happening in this student's mind, in this student's life. You don't do any of that. I just want to do just a quick check to see who's in the chat and who's honest, how honest we're willing to be. If you're in the stream, you're watching, if you're black, or if you're watching this after the fact and you're just going to comment, still comment. When you hear news like this, a black student, a white student, altercation, one of them is stabbed, do you think to yourself, please don't let the black student have been the one to have done the stabbing? If you're black, do you think that? And then I'm also curious, if you're white, do you ever think, please don't let the white student have been the one to have done the stabbing? Or do you do something else? Do you just automatically assume? Maybe you don't want to tell on yourself by answering this question, but if you would, I would be interested to see, when you hear this news, do you automatically think, I bet the black student is the one who did the stabbing? Or do you think, I bet the white student is the one who did the stabbing? I'm just very curious to know, when you hear the news, what do you think? Talk to me in the chat. Michael Apple says, no, in either case, I try not to assume. And you're one of the best among us. Okay. If you really do have that internal monologue who says, I don't know the facts, let me not even assume, hats off to you. Tranview says, kinda, I just want to know how it will be spun. Okay. And there's somebody who's watching right now at work wishing that they could actually take the time to type in their answer, but you're just listening, and I appreciate you just listening. What do you think? I'm going to show you a tweet from a very iconic figure. I'm going to say iconic now. I'm not going to say what I really want to say. I'll let you figure out what I really want to say. An iconic figure. So let's do it this way. Let me come out of here real quick. Give me a second. All right. So these are the students. All right. Now you can already see the pictures that are circulating online. There are other pictures of this student here. There are pictures of him in his football uniform. There are pictures of him hanging out with his friends. And in some of those pictures, he's giving the middle finger to the world. In one picture, he's holding an airsoft rifle that looks like a real gun, but it's not a real gun. But which pictures do you think they're going to grab when they want to show you who these students are? All right, so I'll show you a tweet from, I won't even tell you who. I'll just throw it on the screen. All right. This guy says, if I told you that a young man stabbed another young man to death for telling him that he was in the wrong seat, and then I told you that one young man in this altercation was white and the other was black, and then asked you to guess the race of the assailant. Just saying that, I want to stop right there, but I won't. If I told you that and then asked you to guess the race of the assailant, every single person would know the answer immediately. Is that true? Every single person would know the answer immediately. Young black males are violent to a wildly, outrageously disproportionate degree. That's just a fact. We all know it, and it's time that we speak honestly about it, or nothing will ever change. This is from the cultural commentator Matt Walsh, who recently had the documentary Am I Racist? If I were to answer Matt Walsh's question, I never watched the documentary Am I Racist, because I already think Matt Walsh is racist from all the things he's ever said outside of this. But think about what he's saying here. Is this true what Matt Walsh is saying? If I told you the story, one student stabs another for telling him you're in the wrong seat, and I told you one was white and one was black, and then asked you to guess the race of the assailant, he says, like, this is crazy. First of all, why would you say something like that? Why would you ask me to guess the race of the assailant? Like, there's so many assumptions built into the idea that you could just say and guess the race. So matter of fact, here's what we're going to do real quick. We're going to play the guess the race game. Okay. Because I got some other videos from my Twitter feed. If I told you that, I don't want to remove that from that. I'm going to bring something else in. If I told you that two people are in traffic and one person got out with a gun and went up to the other person's window yelling at them, would you, and then I told you to guess the race of the assailant, what would you guess? Would you guess he's white? Would you guess he's black? And then what if I told you that the person who was in the car getting approached by the one with the gun, what if I told you that he also had a gun? And I asked you to guess which of those two. Michael says white, California, Florida. I'll just play it for you. How about this? Where's it at? You're right, Mr. Apple, it is Florida. And guess what? They're both white. That was a trick question. They're both white. What do you win? You win the chance to appear on this coming Sunday's episode of can I convert you? I forgot I had an announcement to make. So just because you said that, Michael, you just you reminded me that I have an announcement. So pause for a commercial break. This coming Sunday, y'all, Michael Apple, who's here in the chat, is actually going to be joining me on Ichabod. Michael Apple has been one of my favorite Facebook contributors since I started speaking out against my former faith. Michael, who is Jewish, but would you say Reformed Jew, or how would you characterize yourself as it relates to the I guess the different strands of modern day uh, designations? But Mike has been commenting on my post just as a curious, knowledgeable human being who's taking interest in, Reformed Jewish all my life. Okay. He's been taking interest in my posts on Facebook, and I meant to put Mike's in the joint. Okay. But so Mike would chime in. His answers would have so many, like he would be pulling from so many different just dimensions of things you need to know to speak about this topic before you just blurt out any old answer. So much so that I started thinking, I was like, yo, are you like, is this AI or are you a real person? Because his answers always had so much information from so many different facets of reality chopped into one presentation. He said, no, it's not AI. I read a lot now. I'm very interested in this kind of stuff. After several months of just, having him chime in, I started looking forward to his feedback. My sister was even like, yo, that guy, Michael Apple, he's on point. Anyway, so we had been kicking it back and forth. And at some point I said to myself, and then I said this to Michael Apple, I said, I wonder, had the old evangelist, fanatic version of me, had I run into Michael Apple in those days and I tried to convert him to Christianity, if I tried to preach the gospel, I wonder what that conversation would be like. And at some point I just said to Mike, I said, yo, what if we actually had that conversation where I go back into my old Christian mind and try to present you with the gospel of Jesus Christ and let you refute it if you can refute it, or as the Christian would say, the word of God is sharper than any two-edged sword. Even if that's true, if God's word is powerful and all that, and it doesn't return to him void, what would it be like if I went back into that mindset and tried to give the gospel to Michael Apple? So we had been talking about it for a while, and finally I just said, okay, let's do it. So yeah, he said I might see the light. So this coming Sunday at I think we said 11, or did we say, I think it's 11 your time, 1 p.m. my time. We're going to jump on a live, and I'm going to go back to my old evangelistic ways, and I'm going to try to see if Michael's counter apologetics can stand up to my Christian apologetics and evangelism. Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern. So tune in. That's what you win, Mike. You win me announcing what we already decided that we were going to do. So yeah, I'll be promoting that on Facebook, but spread the word and hope to see you guys here. That should be very, very fun. Anyway, so back to this. Let's go to a different one. What if I told you that because remember, Matt Walsh said young black males are violent to a wildly, outrageously disproportionate degree. That's just a fact, and we all know it. So with that in mind, he said, if I told you one was black and one was white, and I asked you to guess, would you be able to guess? He thinks you would. What if I told you no, I don't want to do that. What if I told you, once again, young people, there's 3 guys in a garage, right? In a parking garage. And one guy tries to carjack another guy while another guy is videoing it. And One of them, not the guy videoing, but either the carjacker or the one being carjacked. One of them is white and one of them is black. And these are all young guys. Would you be able to guess which one is black, which one is white? Is it the carjacker? Is it the guy being jacked? What do you think? Because Matt Walsh says, hey, if I told you this happened and said one was white and one was black, everybody would be able to guess. So here we are in this situation, a carjacker and a carjackee. One is white, one is black. What do you guess? Is this another trick question? How about we just get to the video?
Pop out, fam. This ain't your rib, bro. I swear I'm finna punch in this glass, bro. Bro, I swear to God, how about the car, bro? I swear to God, how about the car, bro? No, fam, how about the car? Fam, hop out the car. Dude, just hop out the car.
Nigga tell Ed hop out the car on Rick.
Hop out the car.
Yo, nigga told Ed hop out the car on Suge.
So this one messed everybody up because on Twitter, the caption says, YN tries to carjack somebody, but the car owner is not having it. Yeah. And the phrase YN, if you're not familiar with the phrase YN stands for young, N-I-G-G-A, young nigga. So just by that caption, YN tries to carjack somebody, you think, oh, then clearly the black person in the video must be the one trying to carjack somebody. And then you open it and you see this. So then when you open it, you see this and you think, oh, they're trying to carjack this guy and he's trying to get them out of his car.
Yo!
Hop out the car, buddy. Just unlock the car, hop out the car, bro. You tripping out. Hop out the car, fam. Hop out the car, bro. Hop out the car, bro. Just unlock the door, hop out the car. Yo.
Hey,
If all you had seen was the caption, YN tries to carjack somebody, but the car owner's not having it, and you see this. Now I got to be honest, even as a black man, maybe because it was the YN, I don't know what it was. I don't know. I saw this and I thought to myself, are they taking this young guy's car?
tripping, I ain't gonna lie. Knock him out. Ed, knock him out, Ed. Then he finna get out. Back up. Let him get out. All right, back up.
Bro, watch out, bro. Fam.
Knock him out, Ed, knock him out. No, Gang, knock him out. Gang, knock him out. Ed, knock him out. Ed, on ski, knock him out. Go. Hurry up. No, knock him. He tripping, gang. Knock him out. Man, knock him out.
Bro, watch it again. House arrest, I can't.
So there's a whole conversation going on under this on Twitter because everybody's trying to figure out, wait, it can't be that the guy with the jacket, the black guy, it can't be that he's carjacking the white kid. The black guy says, get out my way. Like he says, I'm on house arrest. Get away from me. I'm not trying to hurt you. If he's on house arrest and he's worried about getting in more trouble with the law, you're not going to try to steal somebody's car and then stick around while your friend records it. If you're that concerned about being on house arrest and not getting in any more trouble, you're not going to do all that.
Watch out.
What the fuck? Knock him out, gang. Sweep his ass. Oh, knock him out, Ed.
All right, you may not want to see all the violence that ensues, but what we find out, or at least what we think we're finding out from watching the comments, and somebody already said, I think it was Michael App already said, guess what drugs he's on. what's going on here is this white kid is sitting on this guy's car. When they come out to get back in their car, he's sitting on the hood of their car. They get in, they turn the car on, they beep the horn, he doesn't move. And then the white kid comes around and starts telling them to get out the car, like, this ain't your car. And the guy's like, yo, get out of my face. What are you doing? And they're saying, we don't want to hurt you, but we're not playing with you out here. And they get into this altercation. But it was the black guy's car, or rather it was his friend's car. And the white guy is trying to tell them that it's not their car. I got one more. I just want to give you a window into my Twitter feed. No, not one more, a couple more, because I just want us to see just sort of what's happening out here. This one is wild to me. What if I told you this event happens on the water, and there's two boats involved, and there's an altercation, and you're probably already thinking, if you're stereotypical, oh, it's on the water, like there's no black people involved. But if I told you one guy on a boat hops off of his boat and into another guy's boat because the guy on the first boat was cursing him out, so he gets off his boat to go confront the guy who was cursing him out, would you think, oh, that must be the black guy in the situation? Would you think that? I'm just trying to see whether or not Matt Walsh has a point. If you hear about these things going on, would you think, oh, there's got to be a black guy involved in this because we know that they're more violent? Now, of course, Matt Walsh's point was a little different. It wasn't, there's got to be a black guy involved. Matt Walsh's point was, if one's white and one's black, it's clear that the black one's going to be the violent one because we all know. That was his point. But you could really extrapolate that to, oh, well, if black guys are the more violent ones, then you really shouldn't be able to explain violent situations that happen when there's no black people involved. So I'm kind of giving you the answer to this one because there are no black people involved, but I do think it's worth seeing.
More than you can possibly fathom in your wild motherfucking dream.
Me too, bro. I'm out here all the time, bro.
I'm 300 days a year on the motherfucking water.
All right,
Every
bro.
day, I'm the best charter captain you will ever meet in your motherfucking life.
All right,
And
bro.
you cuss me out.
Chill, bro. Chill, bro. Please, bro.
Don't hit the fucking fire.
Please, okay, please, bro. Please, bro. Please, bro. Bro, I'm a kid, bro. Please.
Apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro.
You're gonna cuss me the fuck out.
All right, bro.
In the middle of the
No, bro.
Get
Please, bro.
Take
Please,
me back to my
bro.
boat.
Okay. Please.
Fucking apologize.
I'm sorry, bro. That was not me, bro.
Yes, it was,
I know I
motherfucker.
was here, but my buddy was
Take
on the
me
boat.
back to my
Yes,
fucking
sir.
boat.
I'm a kid, bro. Please,
I
bro.
don't care. You don't cuss me
Yes,
the fuck
sir.
out.
Okay. There's a few more videos that I wanted to get to, but I won't just for the sake of time. But one of the things you realize is you live in if you had to be honest, you live in a violent world. We live in a violent world. I often think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? At the very basic level of Maslow's hierarchy, he talks about physiological needs. We all have physiological needs. Your body wants to excrete waste. Your body wants to take in food. Your body is going to want rest. Like there's certain things that your body is going to do, whether you want to or not. Your body's going to call for air. Your body's going to call for to get energy from nutrients, and you're going to have to eat. Then you're going to have to get waste out. Those are your physiological needs. You're not going to be able to stop that. And when rubber meets the road, you're going to do whatever you need to do to meet your physiological needs. You might think you're above public urination, but if you got to go bad enough, you will do what you got to do. But typically when we see people who have a hard time meeting their physiological needs, and you don't have a hard time meeting your physiological needs, you tend to look down on them. But you don't often realize that if you were ever pressed, you would be just as prone to do what you have to do to breathe, even at the expense of something else that you felt like you would never risk that. to do what you have to do to eat, even though you feel like, well, I would never do that. I'll starve before I do X, Y, and Z. Those are the physiological needs. But then on top of that, the next layer of needs, Maslow said, is safety needs, right? You're going to want to protect yourself from the elements, whether it be the heat, the sun, the rain, the cold, from other people, from predators. You're going to do what it takes to keep you safe. Those are about keeping your entity alive. Then after those needs, he goes up and he talks about not just surviving, but these kind of felt needs or desires that we have to not just survive, but to thrive. He starts talking about things like love and belonging and self-esteem and actualization. But typically, no one looks at somebody else who feels like, oh, you're doing what you need to do to meet your basic level needs. We don't necessarily look at them and think, I can't relate to those needs. Now, we might think, wait, you thought you were unsafe in that situation? If I was in that situation, I would not have felt unsafe. So maybe if you're in that situation, you feel like you got to start swinging on people and you got to grab your knife or your gun or whatever. But me, if I'm in that situation, I think, oh, it's not that deep. You're not really presenting that much of a threat to me just because you asked me to move my seat or you asked me to do X, Y, Z. So I'm not going to resort to what you might resort to in that situation. Well, it's not just this person misread what their needs were in that situation. It's more a matter of, why does that person feel like their safety needs were being threatened, whereas somebody else may not have felt like that? You start having to think about what a person's environment has taught them about when their needs and when their safety, when these things are actually being threatened. There's one more video that I want to play. And I'm not defending any of these. I just want us to see the world that we live in. All right. Yeah, here it is. And this one, if you have a hard time watching people act a fool, like, you might be embarrassed for these people. I am. But there's something that I want us to talk about, so that's why I'm going to play it. I'm not even going to give you the context, because you'll begin to understand very soon what's going on.
Watch yourself. Watch yourself. Watch yourself. I'm ghetto. And y'all scary. Because y'all thought that y'all was going to come through here. Hit my daughter with the door. Hit my daughter with the door.
All right. So already we dive in, and there's a mother who's warning somebody else. You made me and my child feel threatened. You hit my daughter with the door. Now, if we were to go back and watch the videos of what happened when they were, I guess one was going in and one was coming out of the store, I would imagine, I don't know, I give people the benefit of the doubt. I would imagine that the person meant no harm. Now, maybe the person was careless. Maybe the person did kind of let the door go when they saw the child coming, knowing, hey, this might hit your child, but that's not my responsibility. Who knows? I give people the benefit of the doubt, and I think it probably was not a lot of times it probably was not the threat that you thought it was. But like I said a minute ago with Maslow's hierarchy, whenever someone feels threatened and acts threatened and responds to their perceived threat, it's not enough just to say, but you weren't really being threatened. You sort of do have to understand, or at least try to understand, why do you feel threatened? Maybe where you come from, maybe you're used to being threatened, and you're used to taking things as threats because you can't afford not to. If you don't take something as a threat that actually is, you're actually putting yourself in jeopardy. And so when something happens, you interpret it the way that's most beneficial to your survival. You have to see it as a threat, and you have to let people know you're not going to do that to me. So this woman's leaving Walmart. or Walgreens, whichever it is. Somebody else is coming in. She feels like her daughter was threatened because the door almost hit her daughter. She tells this other parent, you almost hit my kid, and it escalates from there. I want you to pay attention to several things. Well, actually, I'm not even going to tell you. Just watch it and see what stands out to you.
With the door. Hit my daughter with the door. Get my daughter out the way. I got you out the way. Yep, sir.
Did you see what you think you just saw? Yes, you did. The mother says, so the other woman who wasn't in the frame at the time said something to the effect of, keep your daughter out of the way. The mother who is in the frame says, keep my daughter out of the way. That's the solution that you came up with? Okay, I got you. And spits on the other woman's daughter. Basically, if you're saying it's my daughter's fault for being in the way, and it was my job to have kept her out of the way, then I'm going to show you how poor of a job you're doing keeping your daughter out of the way. And she spits on the other woman's daughter. So that's what you just saw. I'll take it back a minute. And let's see what happens.
Daughter out the way. I got you out the way. Yep, sure did.
So you spat on my kid? Yep, sure did. And then so she spits back on her, and then
Here they go.
drama ensues.
Here they go.
So there just happened to be firemen right there and other people who saw it escalating and decided, I'll jump in at this point. You see the kid runs over. I think one kid is maybe trying to break it up, but she's pulling the other mother off of her mother. Then the child who was with the mom who was outside runs in, get off my mom, screaming. But then that child is now traumatized, cowering. And the one daughter who got spit on ends up comforting the other daughter while this is all going on.
Working at Walgreens. Hold on, he shouldn't even be talking to her like that.
So this is at Walgreens. Now, this to me, this is the part that stood out the most. All that was dramatic and traumatic. This is what stood out to me.
Bro, why he on her like that? Why y'all on her like that? Y'all on her like that. Y'all don't gotta do that. Break them up and that's it. Break them up and that's it. Like, why you doing that to her? Like, yo, you wildin'. That's a whole lady.
All right. Talk to me about what you just saw and what you just heard. So I'm watching that and I'm thinking to myself, like, this is wild. Who's in the wrong? Are they both wrong? Is the mother who said, keep your daughter out the way and this kind of stuff won't happen, she won't get hit with the door? Was she wrong for showing disregard for this other woman's child? The mother who says, oh, you want me to keep my daughter out the way? I got you. Spits on her door. Like, once again, when people feel threatened, you can't really if you make someone feel threatened, the most you can do is do your best to if you didn't mean to make them feel threatened, the most you can do is do your best to let them know, like, I'm not a threat. I didn't intend for you to feel threatened, and I'm not going to be a threat to you. I'm not your enemy. I'm not going to be your enemy. But if you confirm the suspicion that they had that they were being threatened by you, you confirm that, oh, keep my daughter out the way. Oh, so you basically did mean to do that. You can't control what people's response is once you make them feel threatened. So a lot of people are saying, like, whenever I see these kind of things happen on online, these videos, I instantly go to the comments because I know I know there's going to be all kinds of racist people in the comments saying, look, there they go again. Black culture. Oh, look, Black excellence on display. And I got to be honest, like, even me sometimes, I'm like, damn, I hate the fact that it looks like it's always us. I'm talking about Black people. It's always my people. I hate the fact that it looks like this is Black culture. This is, and of course, this is not Black culture, even if this is Black people. But there's something about being such a small minority of the country that you feel like anything that any Black person ever does, you feel like it's you. Like, so when I asked that question at the beginning, like when I said, if you're white and you hear news about somebody white and somebody Black gets involved in something, and it seems like somebody was really in the wrong. If you're Black, you always feel this sense of, oh, please don't let it be a Black person. If you're white, do you ever have a sense of, oh, I hope that person isn't white? Like, even if it's a mass shooting, let's say in a school or something, and those perpetrators are traditionally white. But when you hear the news, even if you think to yourself, I bet it was a white kid, that's still different than the fear that Black folks have of, please don't let it be if you're white, do you ever feel a please don't let it be a white person? Do you ever feel that? I really want to know. Because I'll tell you why Black people feel it. Like, we are such a small portion of the population that we don't have the benefit of feeling like there's so many of us that just because you run into a Black person and have a bad experience, or you think that person is ghetto, or whatever it is, we don't have the luxury of feeling like there's so many of us that you would be foolish to think, oh, that's not all of them. No, there's so few of us that you might really think, oh, there's so few of them, and I've seen 20 of them do this. They must all do that. I think about Chronicles of Narnia, right? In the first, what is it? The Chronicles of Narnia. I always forget the name of the movie, but the one with Aslan and the wardrobe, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. In the movie version, I don't know if this is in the book because I forget how the book goes, but in the movie version, there's this creature, mythical creature called a faun, right? Top half of him is a human. The bottom half of him, he's got legs like a horse or something. He's a faun, and he meets this girl, Lucy Pevens, who comes through the wardrobe into this land called Narnia that she's never heard of, and it's, all kinds of fanciful things going on. And this faun has been told that if you ever see a human, a child of Adam and Eve, then your job is to trick that human into staying here. So this faun creature tricks this little human girl. He gives her this potion to drink, and it knocks her out. And then while she's asleep, he goes and tells the White Witch, the one who said, hey, if you ever see a child of Adam and Eve, keep him here. So while she's knocked out, he goes and tells the White Witch. And then he comes back to the child to bring her to the witch. And the child wakes up, and she's like, man, what happened? I don't know what happened. And she starts, like, oh, Mr. Tomness, I'm so glad I met you. And he gets like, basically his fawn heart, his conscience kicks in. He's like, Dad, you know what? I did you dirty, little human. I drugged you when I went and I told the witch. But before he tells her, she's giving him all these compliments. And he's like, no, don't say that. You don't know what kind of fawn I am. I've been a bad fawn. She says, you're the nicest fawn I've ever met. He says, oh, well, then I'm afraid you've had a very poor sampling of fawns. Like, I'm the only fawn you've ever met. So me being the nicest one is not really saying much for fawns because I just did you dirty. In a very similar way, I think in the Black psyche, there's this idea of there's so few of us in this country, and then there's so few of us in the media that if you get introduced to a less than ideal version of us, you might think all of us are like that. So that's why the please don't let it be one of us. That's why that happens in the Black mind when these kind of things happen. But I'm not saying that to necessarily say what's right or what's wrong. What I am saying is the reports that came out about the first story that we're talking about here, this one student stabs another student after being told you can't sit here. We start realizing that you start seeing different aspects of the story come out, that it wasn't just, hey, you can't sit here, and then out comes the knife and he stabs him. No, there's a dialogue that's going on here. This section is for such and such, you can't sit here. The response comes, we don't know what was said. Maybe there was something to the effect of, who's going to tell me I can't sit here, or who's going to make me move. At some point, the response comes, touch me and see what happens. And then it changes from touch me to see what happens. It changes to punch me and see what happens, which makes me say, did someone say to him, you about to get punched on? It's very common in youth culture for people to threaten one another, not just Black people, for people to threaten one another with, if you don't move, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, I'm going to make you do it. And if somebody's made to feel threatened, you don't get to decide how they respond to you making them feel threatened. Now, one of the things, nothing of what I'm about to say is to say it's his fault. But some of the reports that are not making the news, but that are making social media, so I don't know how serious to take them, is that this twin, this teen who was stabbed is a twin. His twin brother was there. And these two twins, one of the reports that I saw, don't know if it's true, these two twins are known to bully people. I don't know if that's true or not. But the Black kid says, punch me and see what happens. The eyewitness, who was two eyewitnesses say this, says after he says, punch me and see what happens, the kid who got stabbed grabs him. And it's not until he grabs him that the other guy pulls out the knife, or if he had pulled it out already, I don't know. After he grabs him, then he gets stabbed. I don't think Matt Walsh has the right at all to say, this is Black culture, this is Black people, this is what you should expect, and we all know this. This tweet that he shared, and I told you that one of the young men in this altercation was white and the other was Black, and I asked you to guess the race of the assailant. Every single person would know the answer immediately. That is bullshit. I think that's bullshit. I work with young people. I've worked with young people almost all my life. I remember challenging my nephews to not succumb to Philadelphia street culture. I was trying to get them to not think about solving everything with, oh, this person said what? Now I got to fight him. But at the same time, I realized that because of the way things happen a lot of times, if you don't fight, if you don't stand up for yourself, if you do let stuff slide, you do sort of set yourself up as oh, now you're a doormat. People think they can just walk all over you. But it's not just, I would say it's not just Black culture. It's not just youth culture. I think America forgets itself. I think Matt Walsh forgets himself. I do got one more funny video that I'm going to play, so stick around because I want to see a reaction to it. But I think Matt Walsh and many people who like to think of people of European descent or whites in this country as so enculturated, as so refined, so sophisticated, that it's only those other cultures who resort to violence or who don't use reason and are so emotional. Like, if you forget this country's history, like I grew up watching reruns, so it wasn't even fresh media. I grew up watching reruns of Bonanza and The Rifleman and Little House on the Prairie. And movies like How the West Was Won. And I grew up watching white people glorify and celebrate and commemorate how they took over this country from these wild natives, these savages. And they always depicted these people as unintellectual, unintelligible, with no morals, or at least not morals that the people who were traversing West could understand. And so every time the rifleman, or every time a savage was shot with a shotgun, the dramatic music would make you think the right thing had just happened. Like, I grew up watching depictions of an entire nation of people be displaced and dispossessed of their land and their heritage. And the media taught me that something good was happening when that was happening. I don't even have to, I mean, I could, and maybe I should, because we're talking about black and white. I could go into the way that blacks were transported, not just to this country. Only 3-4% of the blacks that were taken out of Africa ended up in America. Most of them ended up in the West Indies and the Caribbean islands, and were used for slave labor for hundreds of years. Like, this is the history of the people like Matt Walsh who want to say, oh, those folks, they're the violent ones. Like, you think about what Trump is doing right now, threatening Greenland with a takeover. We're going to get it one way or another. I'm not ruling out military force. Like, you trick yourself into thinking we're civilized. We don't do those. We did those kind of things in the past. Oh, Hitler, he was the violent one. We were just defending ourselves against. Like, you think about, we learned the lessons of history. We don't, but here we are today in 2025, very much on the precipice of initiating a military act to dispossess somebody else of their land. We need it for national security reasons. Like, you can't look at any segment of the population and say, oh, they're the violent ones, without turning the mirror back on the culture that put people in the situation that they're in, such that you got to think about, why are people grouped into places that end up becoming ghettos? Why are people in places where the resources have been drained from that community? The jobs have been taken away from this community. There's not even supermarkets in their community. They're over-policed in their communities. The police, you go back and think about how policing happened in this country. There were times when police departments around this country, especially in places like LA, they intentionally recruited people that they knew were racist, people that they knew were Klansmen, to join the police. The people who were overly policed, the people who had a war on drugs, which was a covert war on blacks, the people who had all these things happen to their communities. And now you want to just turn around and act as if, for no good reason, even though the entire country is violent, the history of the country is violent, but because these people are probably, if anything, I would say, they're the scapegoats for the violence. They're the ones who readily get put on the news, who get put on display as being violent. But you don't want to turn the lens on yourself. I say all that to say, if these people are right, and I don't think they are, even though I do know what it's like to hear the news and think, oh gosh, I hope it's not black people doing X, Y, or Z. I know what that's like. That's a real thing. But one, that does not epitomize black culture, but I do think it epitomizes a mindset of people who are put into a situation where they feel like their physiological needs, their safety needs, they're being threatened at every turn, and they learn an ethic of, this is how I have to defend myself. That's not all black people. That's not even the majority of black people. But I guess all I'm saying is, I know what it's like to feel those kind of thoughts, but I also don't want anybody to feel like you can legitimize hearing or seeing these kinds of things and thinking you can just automatically assume you know who the culprit is going to be. All of us, I think, have a role in shaping the kind of culture that we're going to have. All of us have a role in shaping the kind of things that are going to be our norms. And this is, I think I made this comment on the last live that I did. I don't think, oh, this is what I wanted to show. There's a Christian who put this. This is not the video that I was talking about. This is a Christian's comment about this event. Where's he at? This is a Christian who frequently comments on my page, but this was not on my page. He posted this on his page. This is about the event that happened with the students in Texas where one stabbed the other. He says, when you remove fathers and Christ out of the home for 40 years, this is what you get. Debauched actions from young Black men who don't know how to act in society. Every damn thing becomes a trigger. Now one kid is dead and the other kid will spend his life behind bars. Both now, at least he did give the guy more of a round character instead of just being this flat character of just this, nebulous knife-wielding kid. He says both athletes were college-bound with offers. But when you allow this sinful culture of music to motivate your emotions, see, I was about to end, but now that's got me on a whole other kick. I didn't even realize he said that. All I saw was the first part. I didn't even realize he said this part down here. When you allow this sinful culture of music to motivate your emotions, you will spiral out of control. So yeah, if you got a dip, feel free to dip, come back and watch the rest of this later, but I need to address this because I didn't even realize that this was part of it. I was simply going to say, like, he's trying to blame this on fatherlessness and Christ not being in the home. You find these same actions. If you look at your school shooters, you find this same actions from people who had present loving fathers in the home, church-going people. Like, fathers and Christ in the home is not the silver bullet you think it is. But then he says, but when you allow this sinful culture of music, once again, so I'm torn. Because while I'm not a fan of drill rap music, like drill rap music is sort of like I don't even know if I can call it the bastardized child of gangster rap. But even gangster rap, like, why did gangster rap music begin in the first place? Gangster rap music began in the 80s, not because Black people were trying to put criminality on display. First gangster rapper in 1986 was Schoolie D. Then you had Cool G Rap. But it wasn't gangster rap. It was just these individual artists talking about the way that they move in the street. 2 years later, NWA puts out Gangsta Gangsta and then Straight Outta Compton. Eazy-E does Boys in the Hood. And even they did not think they were starting gangster rap. They thought they were, Ice Cube talks about going to a party with a shotgun and shooting a party. Ice Cube never did that. What he was doing was putting what he sees in his community in the music to raise awareness. Didn't think he would be starting a whole new genre of rap music by doing that. Fast forward 20 years, and now you've got 30 years even, and now you've got drill rap on the scene. I do think the music plays a role in helping people think this is how the culture operates. The music is people using bravado, using these verbal threats to tell people, you better not make me feel threatened, because if you make me feel threatened, here's what I'm going to do. And if you hear that on a regular basis and you think, oh, that's how we solve our problems, that's how we do. What is culture? Culture is, this is what we do. This is how we live. So if the music makes you think this is how we live and everything is a threat and every threat is life-threatening, well, then, yeah, people are going to feel like if you threaten me, then my life is in danger. So I do think the music can be charged to some degree. But of course, the other side of that argument is how many people who listen to this music go around living like the music tells them to live. And of course, that's the majority of the people who hear the music are not doing what the music is saying. They treat the music the same way that they treat Fast and the Furious. They don't watch Fast and the Furious and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go steal cars now." You don't go to Vin Diesel after the credits roll like, "Yo, steal this car now." Like, no, you know that this is just entertainment. I used to buck against rappers who would use that excuse that it's just entertainment. Now I've got a much softer spot in my heart for that excuse. But at the same time, I see the legitimacy of challenging people. Like, there are people who are not going to differentiate between the art and entertainment value versus this is how we live. This is how our culture gets down. So I guess I understand. I understand why somebody would make the comment that person just made, the guy on the Facebook. But at the same time, I don't think that it's the artist's job necessarily to fix that. I do think that if there are cultural leaders, and I guess that's one of the things that people are beginning to realize, we've gotten a long way away from having cultural leaders. One of the things that social media has done, it's even taken the role that traditional outlets used to play. Like, think about sitcoms we used to watch when we were growing up. All the sitcoms, there was a moral to the story. You wrote it in such a way that there was some kind of resolution. There was never this ongoing pathology on display. Now, most people, when you tune in to watch something, you're probably not watching anything that the network produced. You're watching somebody's skit on Instagram or their skit on TikTok. And the people who are making these skits, they're not putting morals into their skit. They're not having resolution. All they want is to capture your attention long enough to get the views, to make it count for the algorithm so that they can become an influencer. So those people are not putting morals to the story in their sketches. Even if you do watch stuff on the network, all the networks are doing these days is like reality shows. And even in them, they're not writing conflict resolution into the skit. They're writing conflict into the sketch. So much so that they're being encouraged to swing on people. But that's not just the music. That's the culture overall. And that's not just Black culture. That's American culture. That's how can I draw your eyes to my content long enough to tell some advertiser that I'm worth their advertising dollars? That's not Black culture. That's capitalism. And it just so happens that the more sensational your content is, the more likely some advertiser is to give you ad money. So that they've cut out the middleman, right? The middleman used to be the networks, and you used to have parents writing into CBS, "I can't believe you let Janet Jackson perform at the halftime show," and he had the nip slip and all that. Parents used to be able to write into the network and tell the network, "I don't like the fact that you had this character get high or use this curse word, or you had a gay character." Whatever parents thought they didn't want their kids seeing in the 80s or maybe even in the 90s, you could write the network and the network would say, "Oh, if we lose these parents' endorsement, that means less eyes watching our content." When they do the Nielsen ratings, that means less advertising dollars from these sponsors. So parents had a way to get the people making the content to make it more moral. Well, when you remove that network, that middleman, and now you just have people on social media fighting for the eyes of, "Oh, this was boring, I'm gonna scroll to the next one. Oh, this one has a fight scene. Oh, this one has somebody wilding out. I'm gonna watch that." And there's nobody curating the content, and there's no one holding the advertisers responsible for, "Yo, why would you give product placement to that YouTuber when you know that YouTuber is pulling pranks that's getting people hurt?" There's no one holding these people accountable anymore. So there's no one structuring what the content is going to be. I said all that just to say, you can't blame rap music for this. Even if it's a part of the problem, it's the culture overall. It's not Black culture, it's American culture, it's capitalism. And Mo Wheat, you're right. I left out 6 a.m. when gangster rap left the East Coast. Ice-T took it from Jersey to the West Coast and started doing it out there, and then NWA caught on. So yep, you're right. All that to say, I don't think that Matt Walsh has a point. I don't think that this Christian who just posted this, it's the lack of fathers and the lack of Christ in the home. I don't think they have a point. I think we each have a role to play in deciding what our culture is going to be. What we like, what we share online, tells people what kind of content they should be producing. I'm gonna play this one last video and then I'm out of here. This is a wild and weird video to play, but in a weird way, it actually sums up everything that I was just trying to say about you can't control how people respond when you make them feel threatened. And if you make them feel threatened, and if you were just trying to get views and you were just trying to, well, you can't really be mad when you get what you were asking for, but it ends up being more than what you were asking for. So I'm not gonna play the whole thing. I'm gonna play enough for you to see how wild it is. This is why you should leave people alone. If they're not bothering you, don't bother them. All right. Here it is.
You took the top off the Maybach. Why'd you take the top off the Maybach?
Are you getting crazy?
Huh?
You know what you're playing with?
No.
I'm crazier than you. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm fucking crazy if you don't know.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Free bullshit to me, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your friend shit don't bring it to me, okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm not here for your friend shit.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Okay, the crazy guy's behind us. Let's take a right. Andy, get in front of me. Get in front of me.
So you know how people do. They go up to you in Walmart, Walgreens, whatever. They, try to ask you a question and get a reaction or get a rise out of you. They're filming it. Somebody is off to the side. Maybe you see them with the camera. Maybe you don't. They went to the wrong person this day.
He's running. Andy, he's running. Andy, he's running. Get in. Open. He's getting in.
What is going on? I'm on Sam tollway. No, go this way. Don't kill the man. Get over. Don't do it. I'm calling the police, sir. What happened?
I literally asked him a question.
Just go straight.
Then we have to get on the highway. He's gonna die.
We're not trying to kill the man.
Yes. Can you?
He's telling me I'm already calling 911. Yes, and I don't want to knock the man off my car and kill him. The man will not get off my car.
So whatever is going on here, that sounds like that's the kid's mother. So it's bugged out because it's like, if this whole thing is not staged, and it might be, but if this whole thing is not staged, it looks like, if that's not mom, it sounds like mom, she's out here helping her son pull off these stupid pranks on people. I have no idea why they're living this way, but this is how people get down. But this did not go the way they thought it was going to go.
And I'm literally driving down the side of the freeway. He's black, bald-headed. Hey, stop hitting my car! I'm on the phone with the police right now. Don't worry. Are you gonna get off?
Where's the police station?
Get off? It's crazy, man.
There's more to it, but I'm trying not to keep this going too much. All I'm saying, all that to say, you really got to leave people alone in this world. And if you choose to enter into someone else's space, you really can't control how they respond to you entering into their space, especially if you make them feel threatened. You don't get to choose how people respond. And I am, once again, I think I have to say this again. I am not saying this to say that you deserve whatever you get when you do that. What I am saying is the world that we're living in, I don't think it's a black thing or a white thing. I think you cannot control how people are going to respond if you make them feel threatened. And you can't even say, but they shouldn't have felt threatened because all I said was X. You don't know the person's experience. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what their kind of day they're having. Yeah, that it definitely is a fuck around and find out kind of a deal. And I think I'm very content at this stage of my life that I'm content not to find out. There's a lot that I want to know. I want to know how the universe began. I want to know abiogenesis. There's a lot that I want to know. There's some other stuff that I'm perfectly fine not finding out. And so in my desire to not find out, catch me not fucking around. Like, catch me, even if somebody does something that rubs me the wrong way, I really do think to myself, is this worth whatever could happen as a result of me saying something? And if I do think it's worth it, I still have to be very careful with how I say what I'm going to say, because I understand the kind of world that we live in. It's funny because I just talked about NWA, right? The movie Boys in the Hood, the Ice Cube and John Singleton produced back in the late 80s, I think maybe early 90s. In that movie, Ice Cube's brother gets killed in a drive-by shooting. Ice Cube goes and gets revenge on the people that killed his brother. 3 of them, shoots all 3 of them. The day after that shooting, Ice Cube is talking to his friend and he says, yo, I was up early this morning, real early this morning, watching the news. And this is back in the 90s. This is before network news, before CNN, like 24-hour news. He's watching his local news. His local news had a segment called We're Living in a Violent World. But his character, this boy in the hood, knew enough to be offended by the fact that his local news, when they wanted to show that we're living in a violent world, they didn't show what was happening in his neighborhood. He said, they ain't saying nothing about my brother. They ain't saying, even the guys we just revenge killed, they didn't talk about that. He said, when our local news wanted to show we're living in a violent world, they show all this foreign stuff. They overlooked what was happening here. I think the reverse of that happens sometimes when you get racists like Matt Walsh. The entire world is violent. The government is violent. Violent things are happening all over the place. But what the racist impulse is to ignore all of that and only focus on the violence that's happening. Ice Cube in that movie, he says the news didn't show anything that was happening in our neighborhood. Then he said this, the most powerful line in almost any movie. Ice Cube says, I got to thinking, either they don't know, they don't show, or they don't care about what's going on in the hood. The whole purpose of that movie was to highlight and put on display the lack of concern for what was going on in South Central LA. They don't know, because if they knew, maybe they would show it. Or maybe they know, they just won't show it. Or maybe they just don't care about what's going on here in the hood. No, the racist flips it, says, you know what, there's violence in this world, y'all. You know where it's at? And they zoom right in on these black neighborhoods or this black person's actions. And that's the only violence that they see. And that's the bullshit. So those are my thoughts. If you have any, I'm going to stick around and see if there's anything in the chat that I want to highlight here. But I'm just ranting and raving. There's so much more that I could have said about this. You can drill down into the economics and the socioeconomics of it all. You can drill down into the trends. And even if you want to start talking about fatherlessness in homes, and you can start talking about what happened to remove fathers from homes. And there's all kinds of things we could talk about that this conversation deserves a real eye on if you're really going to have it. But I really was just venting my reaction to the comments that got me thinking about whether or not this guy was right. Can you really just assume who the black person was And if you can make that assumption, why is that? Felt like it needed to be addressed, and so I done did. Yeah, that movie, that one along with Menace to Society, both of those movies stood out as eye-opening. Still surfing through the comments here. Yeah, what I would like to begin to do is when I jump on, stick around for a little bit just to shoot the shit with folks instead of just hopping on and right off. Today is one of those days where I'm freer than normal, so I can hang out a little bit. So I'm not going to hold y'all hostage, but I am going to stick around for a few. Y'all got any comments? Holla at me. And like I said, this coming Sunday, catch me preaching the gospel for the first time in 10 years, trying to see if I can convert one of my Patreon supporters, Michael Apple, who's not a religious man, but I'm going to give it the old Bible college try. All right. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and enjoy your day then. It's like, Ichabod, what's your favorite movie? Favorite hood movie? Wow. Man, I don't know. I think it would have to be. I'm torn because I'm an East Coast guy. So instinctively, I want to say Menace to Society, but the East Coast in me wants to say Juice. So I don't know. One of those two. Yeah, Friday was the shit. I went to high school with the kid that looked just like the guy in Juice. The guy, the I forget what the character's name was. Basically, the scared guy that had the box cut. Django is not a hood movie. Yeah, exactly. What was that character's name? We had a guy in my high school. He looked like Chub Rock, the rapper Chub Rock, so we called him Chubbs. Called him Chub, and then this character in the movie kind of reminds me of that dude. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and dip off of here. Hope you have a good day. I look forward to seeing you. Oh, drop a comment, drop a like if you haven't liked the episode already. Drop a like. If you're not subscribed, do that, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys' comments underneath the video. I'll catch y'all Sunday. Anything where Samuel Jackson quotes the Bible. So yeah, yeah. Was anybody a Spike Lee fan? I feel like I need to go back and rewatch Spike Lee movies because I was too young to really get what he was doing back when I was a young buck. But you bring up Samuel Jackson, you got to go back to the early Spike Lee films for that. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bounce. I'll catch you guys Sunday. Peace.